women want men who cannot analyze them emotionally, psychologically, and the same men cannot fall in love with these women emotionally. So generally, she wants a different, a unique, and authentic Isaac that can never and will never get caught up in a psychological analyzation, in a state of falling in love emotionally. I want things to go this way. And so I'm going to analyze Hannah and understand how she is behaving. And in this process, if I won't like her character, and maybe the character is dangerous to me, I will adjust my behavior so that I can specifically act in a certain way to finally end up accommodating Hannah, because I have, or rather, I am in love with Hannah emotionally. And this state of being makes me feel in a certain specific way in which I can't let go this state of being. Now, before you come here to judge me, and maybe you write a bitter comment, and then you say, oh, and then you give a feedback or an insight, just give me some of your time, and I promise you, you won't regret. Now, let's define first. Okay? That's one bit. I wanted to move this. Yeah. Shade. Yeah. Let's remove that shade there. Let's first understand with you, Isaac, what are the dangers of falling in love emotionally? Maybe you are in a different state of being, and now you will go in a different state of being, which is a state of falling in love with who? With Hannah. What are the dangers of falling in love with Hannah? Don't judge. We all live in a habit. This is a habit that exists in Hannah and Isaac. What exists in Hannah is psychological, and what exists in you, Isaac, is logical. Every time you have a problem with Hannah, again, every time you have an issue with Hannah, you have an issue with Hannah logically. Every time she has an issue with you, she has an issue with you psychologically. So, you trying to think that you can get her see things the right way, you are trying to convince her to see things logically. Her trying to convince you think that you are the wrong guy, she is trying to get to understand what she is perceiving psychologically. And none of you will understand each other, because this state of being exists in you, and it's a movement that is allowing you to survive, live, move on, and that is a state, a habit, a movement that exists in you, Isaac. The same habit, state, movement exists in Hannah psychologically. Now, every time, each one of you is trying to convince the other person to live a specific movement, which is either logically, so that you can go to a movement of psychologically, or live psychologically so that you can go to a movement of logically. But you can never convince a woman to move from a state of psychological and go to logical, because this is her only way of surviving. And this psychological is the thought that is controlling her mind, which is unhealthy. But this is the only way she can survive, and she thinks it because, again, it is psychological. And the only way, Isaac, you can survive this thought and this movement is either to comply to her psychological analyzation, or accept the torture that this psychological analyzation comes with to your brain. And you can never fully change her, which means her habit. You can never fully change Hannah's habit of psychological analyzation to your habit, which is logical, is trying to convince her that she is always wrong, and this collides with the psychological analyzation. It's against her thought. And going against her thought, it will always find a problem in you. It's always you. You are doing this because you are weak, because you really love her that much more, because you are so insecure, because you can't even understand reality, because she can easily manipulate you psychologically. Again, you are the problem psychologically. And this movement is this movement and this analyzation is what still sustains her psychologically. But your logic state things, you just need to try a little bit hard to convince her so that she can see. You have to be patient, and it just becomes so toxic. Now you are passive. You are so passive to this character. It's torturing you psychologically. You just need to be like her, which is living in a movement that is not healthy for you, but you just accept to live in that movement to accommodate her, which communicates weakness in her eyes, and she will be with you, she will date you, she will love you for just a period of time until she will in the future realize that this movement is doing her no favor or no justice. And when she knows that, she might in the near future realize it when she has already lost you, or when she's about to lose you, or when you have lost love towards her. The first danger is distortion of reality. Like once you fall in love, you will get obsessed with Hannah. So the other danger is obsession. So getting obsessed with Hannah gives you a specific memory, a specific pattern that you will consistently follow, which she becomes your attention. And when she is your attention, you remove the attention of reality, like paying attention or being in a state of understanding reality. Second thing is there is obsession. You will get obsessed with her, and once you are obsessed with someone, you yourself and your identity gets out of you. So I'm doing this because I am obsessed with her, and this will cause me to feel more of this, and this is how I feel. And it's not on a fresh, healthy action. It's being influenced by your obsession. So we are done with that, and we have to fully understand that is the second disadvantage. The third disadvantage is loss of self-control. Like when you are supposed to control yourself, you will find yourself doing things in a manner that if you are genuinely without that existence of obsession, you won't do things, or that existence of love, falling in love, you can do things differently. And now that the thing, obsession and falling in love exist, you won't do things ordinary. The fourth thing is cravings. You know, when you have, we obviously live in a state of habit, in a state of a specific pattern most of the time, and we follow that habit until we come up with a different habit, and then we continue with that habit. So something has to exist in your existence for you to survive, because you have to get rid of that craving for you to survive. And that is how you have programmed yourself. That is your memory. That is how you live. That is how you act. That is how you react towards a different scenario because of the craving. You see a certain woman, you think about your lady, and then you are craving her, and then you go home, all you want is pleasure. You see another lady, and then you think about your lady, and then she walked away. All you think about is pleasure, which the thought will lead you to act on a certain thing because of that thought about your ex, whom you were in love with, and she walked away. And now you are engaging in a different pattern, which is a pattern of getting obsessed with pleasure, because it reminds you, or rather something in existence reminds you of your ex. And the only way to survive is to get yourself in a certain state of pattern, and now you practice that pattern again and again and again, even with different types of women who are low value, so that you can survive that state of she walked away, I am heartbroken, but I was in love with her. So this leads you to do things on an influence of your ex because you fell in love with your ex. So we are done with that part, okay? These are just my insights. And then there is mood swings. Mood swings is when sometimes you are extremely happy because you saw her. She's in existence. She looks great. And since you are extremely happy, is because of maybe her energy or what her presence does to your energy, and you think maybe that is what you need in your life. And that is just a fact. The other time is maybe you miss her and she's not around, and then the energy is off, and then your energy goes down from up to down. So she is in control of you. When she shows up, you get excited because you see her. You are in love. You are obsessed. And that makes you to act on a specific pattern of different types of mood swings in your body, and you think that is genuine love because every time you see her you are excited, and when she's not around you feel bad, disappointed, you are mad. But it's not that you are in love. It's just a habit that you created for that feeling when you experienced the first time when you were with her, and the mood swings exist. And because you haven't really gotten to know who she really is on a human to human level, you define that looming feeling and predictable feeling as different state with a different state. And now that sometimes you get excited when you see her, you define it as love. She makes you happy. No, you have a specific pattern of acting in a certain way because her presence causes you to feel a certain static energy, and that energy in you makes you think, because it's through yourself in your brain, makes you think it's love, and you have been surviving, rather living in that pattern, in that behavior, and you define it as love. But it's just a mood swing, and that is not genuine love. Yeah, again, I had to go for a short call. Okay, and I'm sorry for that, for keeping you waiting. Now, first, let's understand what is psychological analyzation. Now, psychological analyzation is a form of torturing yourself mentally to gain clarity of something that your thought is trying to clarify, and it's a movement of thought psychologically and not a healthy movement of thought. Are you aware of that? Like, you will have to analyze that woman in a certain specific way, right? But not on what is healthy to you, but it is a movement that will have to exist in your brain for psychological clarity. Even when you will measure her logically, she will be measuring you psychologically, which is causing psychological torture to you. And it's passive. So she knows that any guy who analyzes her and he's not willing to accept the reality as it is, this is the guy she can control because she's being controlled by the thought. And this is just a specific state, a habit that she chose to live in. Like most of you ask, how can I help a certain lady not to misjudge me? Maybe she misinterpreted me in the wrong way, that what she thinks is in me, what she thought defines me, what she believes it's who I am is not who I am, and it's just a wrong psychological analyzation. How can I stop that lady from analyzing me the wrong way? You can never. Like, you are just going against the habit that she believes she needs for her to survive. And that is a state of being that she is in until she relearns that state of being. So you think that maybe if you convince her, okay, and maybe you let her see things differently, if you just try to show her how the world works and she is relying on a very unhealthy movement that is controlling her to understand people wrongly, this might just give you a healthy relationship. She might understand you in the right way and things might work out for you guys. That is what you think. But now that habit and that pattern in its own state is also a habit. Like consistently trying to convince someone you think she's a good person, because thinking that she's a good person is a habit. It's a pattern that you will consistently be relying on even when you meet women who will torture you psychologically, who will excessively stress you even after confirming that you are the right guy for them. Surrounding yourself with that environment alone creates a specific pattern that you will be relying on, and now you become her slave. So you can never change someone's habits, someone's pattern, so that she can see things in the right way. Peter asked this question. You can never, my friend. Until she realizes that the movement that exists in her is unhealthy from her, she will never realize that she's doing anything wrong. Rather, you will always be the problem. It's you. It's never us. It's hard for that lady to realize this pattern sooner so that she can adjust sooner before you lose love towards her. That is just what exists. And most of you don't understand this as it is. You can never change Hannah's movement, habit that is allowing her to cope up with what she thinks it's what is, and what is, it's the thought that exists in her psychologically. And she is always solving a thought in her head, and it's not you, Isaac. It's always her. She's always fixing herself. She's always fixing her thought. She's always trying to compromise her thought. Her thought will have to find a problem in you for her thought to still exist in her, for her to survive in that movement. And it's never about you. But you always think it's you. Is it making sense to you now? Can you fully understand why you have to act in a specific way for Hannah to analyze you as weak so that she can gain clarity and she can give thought clarity that she was right? But you are heightening her thought and convincing her thought to always be right, and she will be following her thought, and this is wrong. Why? This is not healthy. Psychologically, this is torture. Psychologically, this is abuse. It's never me. Every time you adjust her behavior and act in a certain way so that she can understand that you are not the person she thinks you are, it's again you. You did that because you are weak and you want me to see your value, so you are doing this to prove your love, and it's you. You are the problem. You are the issue. You are not in control of your life, and you are obsessed with her, which means you are so predictable that you have to adjust your behavior because you analyzed her and thought that when I just act this way, when I just assist, even the thought in it itself of trying to assist so that she can understand that she is doing things the wrong way, in it itself alone is a pattern that will enslave you towards women. And you can never get out of that hole until you understand your own habit, your own pattern that exists, and it's the only way you are surviving. Because it's a habit that most of us are caught in, right? Let's fully understand that that state and that looming feeling that you think exists in your thought, it doesn't exist in reality. That is why it's causing psychological torture. And you can't really understand your woman, and you will never understand your woman, because that alone, in it, it's torture. And now, that is your own state of being psychologically, but it never exists in reality. But she is trapping you psychologically so that she can enslave you. That is why the only way you can win over a woman is by never analyzing her psychologically. Because analyzing her psychologically, you are trying to put yourself in a state of being a specific person for her. And being a specific person for her equals to control. So you can never be that one guy. You can never act in a specific way to fulfill what she wants. You can never help her. She needs to learn on her own. But she might learn on her own when you have already lost love towards Hannah. You can never go back for her. And that is just what is. It's just a consciousness, a movement that will have to exist if she is rebelling against the society, because it's always psychological. You know, when you rebel against something psychologically, because your thought is in control psychologically, that is the authority. And you are giving that authority power to control you as a lady. So if a thought is the authority, it's controlling you. Since it's controlling you, you are following that thought. And that is when she is enslaved, but she is also pulling you and pushing you so that she can also enslave you with her, so that you can follow her thought. Isaac can follow her thought because she's also following her thought psychologically. I think this way, and this is the right thing, because by using my past experiences, this led to this. And the past experience never let me define what is right, what is wrong, and it was just an experience to gain knowledge. I understand it as it was psychological torture. So I have to act this way to remove that perception of psychological torture in me. So I am acting, behaving, and being led by the thought psychologically, and it's not what is. It's just what is in my head, and it's not what exists in reality. That's why it's easier when you just vibe with any lady, you just have fun, you just see her and then you smile. It's easier for her to also comply because your thought and her thought are on the right side. You thought about it and you think you can smash her. Her thought was you look cute because you don't want anything serious. So she is following her thought. And you confirmed her thought. And now you are enjoying that moment because she wanted you to be there so that you can confirm her thought. And then when you confirm her thought, she can finally convince herself that you are so weak. You just sleep around. You just wanted to use her again to give clarity to her thought. And she's never wrong. And she can't learn her lessons. She understands it as you are weak. You just wanted to use her. And men are just trash. And it's never about her. It's always about you. Everything is about you. So you can never change that lady. When you finally decide to marry this lady and she is your wife, you will get to know her on a human-to-human level. And that energy, that behavior that she was giving you, that caused uncertainty, now you have Saturn. Now there are behaviors you can see and identify in her that cannot give you that energy. Because it's predictable. She's just the same as my ex. Her behaviors, her actions. Maybe the only difference is her values. Or maybe the only difference is she's faithful. Or maybe she's respectful. Or maybe, but taste, it's the same. Maybe hers are just advanced a little bit because she has more experience or she's mature. And she just tastes the same. Now the mood swing is not in existence, and you think the love finally is not there. No, the energy doesn't exist because that image that you thought it's her, it was not her. And now that you are dealing with an image that you never thought existed in her, that defines to you that the love doesn't exist. But maybe she is narcissistic and now you are dealing with the narcissism in her and you are in denial. You're not willing to judge that act. You're not willing to understand her behavior is narcissism because you think that love still exists. This lady, the only problem, the only thing that is happening is she's trying to seek freedom through you, Isaac. Okay? And it's freedom from something. There is always a thing. Even you're always trying to find freedom. She's also trying to find freedom, but she's trying to find freedom psychologically. You are trying to find freedom logically. And logically, a woman who cares is a woman who loves. Psychologically, when she pretends that she cares, she gives you what you think is healthy for you, but that pretense will allow her to move away from that thought of thinking that something is just wrong. And because something is just wrong, maybe she was heartbroken, for she had a different, unique character that she needed to work on herself to become a different person. It's not her. So she can't deal with herself and accept that character. The only way she can be free is to move away from that thought of I might be the problem and he walked away. Or I can't just deal with this shit of shame. She understands everything that happened to her in a negative way as a negative thing, as shame. She's not good enough. She's not attractive. She was not sweet. So this is a thought that exists in her and she needs to get out of that. And that is the freedom she's trying to get. I'm trying to find clarity and I want something that can confirm that the thought is wrong. But that is not how you deal with it. When you fight against that thought that it is wrong, that is when you are going against the authority. The only way she can move out of that thought is to just accept and not to analyze why he walked away. But she analyzed why he walked away, and it's causing some distress in her. And she just can't live in that state. But she wants someone who can help her survive in that state of being, which it's a confirmation that I am postponing this state of being, and I am not willing to deal with it as it is because it's too much for me. So I want something that can interrupt those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions right now, because this right now is too much for me and I can't deal with it. So I have to insert a different pattern, and this means I have to get Isaac, the weaker guy, who thinks that when I communicate care, when I show care in the front end game, in the middle end game, now this confirms that I am genuinely in love and I want a serious relationship with him. But his existence is what I need. But I need him to trust my existence as genuine love for him to be around, and I can be able to deal with the real situation that exists, and I can remove it, so that I can stop paying attention to how I feel, what exists, and I can just divert the attention to a different state, which is the good guy. Now I am paying attention to Isaac, who is the good guy, and this is my attention right now. The thought has moved from this to this, but it has not dealt with it. And now that it has not dealt with it, it's still in her. She cannot deliver what you need consistently. One day, this part of her will still exist, and then you will think that she changed. She's a different person. She's not the lady you thought she is. Yeah, that is just what is. What she showed you in the front end game, in the middle end game, that was not who she was. And now she can't pretend for the long run, because what she never dealt with still exists in her, and it's what is taking over her. For the longer you take to deal with what is in you, the deeper it gets. And the deeper it gets, the more clarity you want. But you are still in denial. And now the blame is, oh, Isaac, it's always you. You are the problem. You are weak. You are a loser. That is why you will see people say, he is emotionally weak. He is attached. Her behavior gave you a specific pattern. That pattern made you to rely on her. And now that pattern and that memory exists in you, she made you believe that there is something unique and specific in her, which got you get attached to her. But that is not her. That is just the image that exists in her. And this image, you think it's her. That is why you are attached to her. But once you get to know the real her, the attachment will fade away. And that is when the love will fade away. And reality will be different. And you won't again fall in love with her, because it's not her that you thought it's her. And now that pattern won't exist in your brain. The pattern that is new is her real image, which is maybe narcissism, toxic. And your brain can't adapt to that. And the only way to move on is to move on without her, but trying to act in a specific way so that she can see your worth, so that at least she can see that you are a good person. You are adapting to that narcissism, toxicity that exists in her. And sometimes when she's not toxic, she will give you dopamine. And when she's toxic, she will give you a different energy. And now you are getting used to dopamine, a weird energy, a negative energy, and then dopamine. And then you convince yourself that persevering allows you to again later on get the dopamine. And that is your pattern, your behavior, your movement. That is how she is fully controlling you. Until when she will be done, because you have been there fully and you have provided what she needed for her to survive. Because she could have never have survived without your existence. But controlling you allowed you to stay so that she can heal and she can move on. Now that she is fully healed, she's fully moving on, and she will tell people that you are weak and you are getting attached to her. But you are supposed to be there. That is why she was controlling you. But she will never apply this game and apply this tactic to a different guy who understand things as they are without analyzation and without falling in love emotionally. Did this made any sense to you? I don't think so. Are you a new member? Are you enjoying the lessons and the insights? I hope so. If you are a new member, welcome on board and let's just deal with the reality.